Okay, welcome to Eloquent JavaScript, a modern introduction to programming, 3rd edition. Chapter 2, Program Structure. Problem number 2, write a program that prints all the numbers from 1 to 100. For numbers divisible by 3, fizz is printed instead of the number. For numbers divisible by 5, buzz is printed instead of the number. And for numbers divisible by 3 and 5, fizz buzz is printed. And for none, the number is printed. Okay, so to start, I'm gonna need to print the numbers from 1 to 100. So for that, I'm gonna use a loop. Here, I'm gonna use a for loop. So for let I, starting from 1, ending at 100, so I less than or equal to 100, and I plus plus, like that. Okay, and simply just console.log the value of I. If I run it, I go here, run and debug, and it printed all of the numbers. Okay, so let's start from here. So for numbers divisible by 3, fizz is printed instead of the number. So what's going on here? Okay. So for numbers divisible by 3, fizz is printed instead of the number. So I should add an if condition here. I want to make sure that the value of I is divisible by 3. If true, then I want it to print fizz. False on, otherwise I want it to print the value. So in here I'm going to use the rating operator and 3 and set it equal to 0. That way, if I is divisible by 3, then I rating 3 would be equal to 0. So for that, console.log and fizz. Okay, I should add an else here, like that. Now if I run and debug, now every number that's divisible by 3, fizz is printed instead of the number. The most important thing here is I shouldn't forget this else keyword, because if I did, let me run it. 1, 2, fizz and 3, 4, 5, fizz and 6. So fizz is followed by the number that's divisible by 3. So to fix that, I shouldn't forget the else keyword. Alright. The second condition, for numbers divisible by 5, buzz is printed instead of the number. So make it as my second condition, and here I'm going to use else if. So that way, in case I was not divisible by 3, check the second condition. If the second condition is true, then execute this, then print out buzz. If the second condition is false, then go to the default statement, which is to print the number. So number divisible by 5, so I radian 5 equal to 0. Like that, console.log buzz. Now if I run it, every time there's a number that's divisible by 5, buzz is printed. Okay, so the third condition, for numbers divisible by 3 and 5, fizz buzz is printed. So let's add the last condition. So in here I have two conditions. The first condition being whether the number is divisible by 3, and the second condition is whether the number is divisible by 5. So let me separate these with parentheses. First condition being I radian 3 equal to 0, and the second condition being I radian 5 equal to 0. And the setting should be console.log fizz buzz. Now, when writing two conditions, I need something called a binary operator in order to combine these two conditions. In this case, I need to use the AND binary operator. So it goes by placing these two AND characters, like that. That way, this condition is only true only when the first and second condition is true. There's another binary operator which is an OR. It goes by placing these two characters instead, where this whole condition is true when only one of these conditions is true. And it also works when both of these conditions are true. Okay, and there's a third binary operator, which is the upper arrow character, and it's the exclusive OR, where this whole condition is true only and strictly only when one of these conditions are true. And in case both of these conditions are true, then this whole condition is false. That's how this exclusive OR works. In this case, I'm going to use the AND binary operator. Now, let me run and debug. It only prints the number, fizz, and buzz. There's no fizz buzz. Okay. That's because when looking at the conditions, the system starts from the first condition. When the first condition is true, then it prints out fizz and ignores all the rest of the conditions. So that's why it doesn't work. So to fix this, let me just copy just this, paste it in here, add an else if, and remove this whole condition. Like that. Through every iteration, the compiler would look at the first condition. If this whole condition is true, it prints out fizz buzz. If it's false, it moves on to the second condition. And if the second condition is true, it prints just fizz and ignores the rest. And in case all these conditions are false, then the default statement would be to print the value of I. Now, if I run and debug, there it worked. 1, 2, fizz, 4, buzz, fizz, 7, 8, fizz, buzz, 11, fizz. Where are you? 13, 14, fizz, buzz. Which is the value of 15, where 15 is divisible by 3 and 5 at the same time. So it works. Okay, so like that we would have written a program that prints all the numbers from 1 to 100. For numbers divisible by 3, fizz is printed instead of the number. For numbers divisible by 5, buzz is printed instead of the number. For numbers divisible by 3 and 5, fizz buzz is printed.